most of the time in a first-person shooter game, your gun is wrapped around the handle of the gun. You don't even see most of the fingers. Probably even have some games where they don't even model the full hand. The reason you want to do it though is because for things like later on with the reloading animation, or if you're picking up the gun from somewhere, or if you want to do some melee, or any other sort of maybe interaction with objects, you want to show a hand maybe picking up something or grabbing something. You just want to have it maybe there. And of course, keep in mind that you're not locked in stone with this too. I mean, the rigid rigging approach allows for, well, I guess any rigging probably you can obviously tweak and adapt. Um, a lot of people, with the weight mapping, like having one skin and kind of, if you have vertices that start overlapping, Unity throws it out. And like overlapping vertices in a single mesh, it doesn't like it, right? So it's trying to apply its own sort of rules about rigging and things like that to FBX imports when it comes in to Unity. So hopefully, like with the rigid rigging approach, you don't have that problem. You have obviously overlapping vertices, but each part is its own separate part. Each bone is to its own segment. So in and of itself, unless you're really distorting a lot of that geometry just within, say, that finger, or that middle joint, in the tarsal or whatever, then you're not going to have any problems. Again, the advantage of this is again, you have control over sort of the low poly factor. Um, you don't want a game asset necessarily that's going to be driving a lot of resources every frame, especially a first-person shooter where, let's face it, your arm and your gun is kind of there all the time in the sort of being rendered or being sort of updated each frame kind of thing. You know, uh, you will eventually be at a point where an animation happens or something gets called, and so again, it's just a way to have more control, or more um, a kind of bare basics approach to kind of dumb it down or kind of simplify it. A sort of reductivist kind of, you know, blocky, almost Minecraft kind of, or Roblox or something, or Fortnite kind of low poly. And there's great, this is 2023. BattleBit's a great example of a recent game made on Unity, an indie game with three developers, I think, that's had a great um, reception. It's a low poly version of like a battlefield, or sort of, it's a military kind of fighting, and it's great. It got a great look. Rust has even been ported to console, and it's got it's not the most exactly always high fidelity. There's a lot of games that are still very popular. Starfield obviously coming out from Bethesda on the sort of Microsoft Xbox console and sort of Xbox side of things, but Bethesda obviously Fallout 76, a game from 2017, like at least 5 years, I think, right? And Ghost Recon Wildlands. I mean, great games from Ubisoft. Games from 2017 that still have a big following today. And certainly when it comes to sort of like, they've got great graphics. Don't, and I'm not saying my graphics are on that same level here, but I mean, what I'm trying to say is that graphics, or the fidelity of the graphics, I mean, sure, games like Cyberpunk look incredible. I mean, and they're constantly being, the focus with the new, next gen consoles and 4K and 8K. But those it means you have to have a lot of resources, and there's a lot of discussion about. Um, I'm just talking over this, and you can see what's going on. I mean, it's just basically doing the same thing over and over again. But it's an important point in the sense that, yeah, you can try to go for like high res, and but does everybody have the supercomputer to run that? At the full frame rate that they probably want. Even Starfield is being sort of right now, at least I guess, is being sort of. It's like when you put a governor on a motor. I mean, it's being held at 30 frames so that there's a consistency. And let's face it, if you're doing a multiplayer online game, you know, um, with the way sort of things happen on the network side of things and sort of for lag and things like that. Obviously, if you have somebody playing with a very fast, high performance system and somebody is in the session with a low performing, um, there's probably I would imagine that probably the way it's designed more is that um, frame rates are being dropped to say 30 frames from 120 or 60 or whatever people are trying to play at.